Hi there, knife people. Hello, lady and gentlemen. We are going to talk sharpening, but more specifically, stropping. We are going to have a little bit of fun with it because we're going to cover these topics. How to introduce a brand new quality strop into your tool lineup. How to maintain the strop that you've been using and abusing for a while. I'm going to share with you what stropping aids compounds am I using. And a brand new quality brand knife that came to me with sharpening burr at the apex and how to properly deal with that. But most importantly, we're going to cover rule number 1 of stropping. There are no rules in stropping. How about that? Let's go. And for that, I have the microscope, my screen, my iPad, a brand new knife, and a strop, a well-used strop on my bench. Before I get into actual technical side of things, I would like to address a couple misconceptions that are circulating out there. Number one misconception is that the stropping will actually make your edge sharper. Stropping does not change the sharpness of your edge for the better. You can make it worse, but you cannot make it better. The reason is when you form your apex, I don't know how you sharpen in a fixed angle system or by hand, but what you're trying to do is form this apex with as tiny of the radius as possible. Almost imperceptible radius is always there, but you're trying to make it as small as possible. What the heck am I talking about radius at the apex, at the very cutting edge? Listen, it's not my concept. I don't want to get into an hour-long lecture about apexes, but understand this. Even if you're a master of the universe and you have some kind of crazy laser, I don't know, evaporator, steel sharpener that you use to sharpen your blade, you're limited by the size of carbon molecule that ends up at that edge. So there's always a radius, even no matter what. We're trying to sharpen it so that radius is smaller. So it looks as much as a sharp edge as possible, but right here where my fingers meet, there's tiny little radius that is always there, and that's just the nature of the universe. And what happens when you remove metal, metal starts building up, and usually you will end up with burr on one side of your apex. So you're supposed to be able to weaken this burr with a fine grit sharpening plate or stone or whatever you use for the media. I work on fixed angles sharpeners usually, so I'm using diamond plates backed with aluminum. And what you do in the end, you sort of make a few passes opposite. So if this is your apex and you sharpen into it, then the weakening passes are opposite. They're off the blade. And what it does, it actually pushes the burr from one side to the other several times in a row. Eventually it breaks off just like a tab on a soda can. A lot of people will advise you to count how many strokes you do. They'll say go 10 this way, then flip it over and do 9 this way, then 8 this way, 7 this, and they count it. Don't do that. Why? You just worked hard to create this crisp apex, and you will have no idea how much burr you're removing with each pass. So potentially you're risking to round off that very fine apex radius to a larger radius. You know, the knife will still feel sharp, but it will last a lot less in that condition. So we know Spyderco is one of the few companies that produce perfect edges. Perfect, but not perfect, because they don't strop at the factory. None of the Spydercos that I've seen, including some pretty high-end ones, come stropped. They just don't do it. Their edges are so beautiful and consistent, but not free of burr. So let's see, actually, before we put it under microscope, the reason to have a quality strop handheld strop is it will come with one side of the leather being smooth. And what I was doing here, I was making sure there's no deep striations on it from previous sharpening. And I'm gonna run the edge on that strop and see what it looks like. And you can see, I hope you can see, there are some striations that I created by dragging the edge over that smooth surface. But let's clean the blade and test the theory. To clean compounds off the blade after sharpening, I use just basic lighter fluid. Why? Because it is non-corrosive, very quick drying, and it dissolves oily substances really well. So I highly recommend, if you're using something else, try out lighter fluid. So let's see if I was right. So I'm looking at the right side of the blade, and I don't see a significant amount of burr here. The edge looks quite perfect. Let's flip it over. Aha, right there. And I have to say, this is actually not bad at all. But these bright spots at the peaks here, and not just reflections, it's a little tiny burrs that were left after the sharpening process. And there's no way to predict on, for example, on Spydercos, it can be to the left of the blade or to the right, and you can see it's more or less in a lot of places. So also you can see how flat the secondary bevel is, meaning there was no stropping, because after you strop, you will see, I don't even want to call it a micro bevel. Yeah, so here burr looks like it's flipped to the other side. Let's flip it over and look. No, it just removed. This is a MagnaCut blade. MagnaCut is extremely easy to sharpen. It's just a very good machinable steel. Spyderco heat treats MagnaCut in a pretty decent range, and at that range, it reaches its ideal properties. And I'm working on a video that will show you the exact range that it's in, and how consistent Spydercos are blade to blade. Ukrainian company called Beavercraft makes this beautiful strop. I am from Ukraine, and I'm impressed with the quality of this strop. And the best part is it's priced the same way as if it was made in the People's Republic of China. So their regular price is under 20 bucks, but oftentimes you get it for 20% off, or about $16, which is why I grabbed another one. Here it is, made in Ukraine. And the strop comes with a little green compound. The green compound is fine to get you started. It will work on most blades. You will start seeing a significant reduction in performance once you get to like 61, 63 HRC range blade hardness, but it will still work. You just spend a little more time. That's why we'll talk a little bit later about diamond pastes. What I wanted to show you, when I bought my first one from them and I opened it, I thought for sure this was synthetic leather. Look at the leather here. Look at it. I thought it was synthetic. I was like, what? A synthetic leather strop? That's unheard of. This is so nice and velvety and uniform that it just blew my mind. I thought for sure it's fake. And then I'm embarrassed to say I tasted it. Tastes like leather. I put my tongue on the corner here. Anyway, that's how good this strop is. And this one I had for what, about a year now, and needs to be reconditioned here, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But other than that, it held up pretty well. This is my mistake, running the sharp edge into the leather. So my goal is to recondition this strop and continue using it for the higher abrasiveness compounds, and dedicate this one to the finer grits for finishing high polish edges. On Amazon, I found this made in USA set of diamond paste. already said that the bars don't always work on the higher, or they don't work well enough on the higher hardness steels, because what you end up doing using these compounds that basically every sharpener making company provides, or strop company in this case, what you're doing is you're forcing yourself to do too many passes, and then you end up with this rounded off tip. What do I mean by that? Leather itself has abrasive properties. It's a fibrous material. So when you have burr, the fibers in the leather catch on it and help it break off. So you could potentially strop with just bare leather without anything on it. But what happens with that is when you stropping, the leather rounds off. It's pliable, right? So it will actually, I'm trying to show you here, it will actually ride up onto the apex and start tearing the burr off. What the compound or diamond paste do, they actually abrade the base of the burr. Instead of ripping it off of the apex, it continues to wear it down until the burr pops off by itself. That's what I'm talking about. I highly recommend diamond-based solutions, and there are emulsions out there which I don't use, and I'll explain why. This is very inexpensive, even though it's a diamond powder made in USA. Right here, I got 3,000 grit, 5,000 grit, and this is 1,500, which I've been using predominantly. The reason I like compounds of pastes over the emulsions is when you spray the emulsion, you get these uneven patches. The liquid dries too quickly, you get uneven coverage, and even if you smear it, it gets absorbed so fast you don't have enough time to smear it properly. I'm going to prep this strop, and for that I need to put a rubber glove on at least one of my hands. And that next tip I learned from reading comments under another YouTuber's video about stropping, and I think it's a fantastic tip. Pay attention, because even if you're using fast drying emulsions, that will help you out quite a bit. It would be totally wasteful to apply diamond paste directly to the brand new leather strop, because it absorbs so fast, you'll just be wasting your paste. That's why I put leather conditioner on first, and on the rough side you need to put quite a bit. It gets soaked in very quickly, but it will give your diamond compound a nice substrata, I guess, for the lack of a better word. And on the smooth side, obviously, you're going to use a little bit less of the conditioner. The links to all the stuff I'm using here will be in the description. I appreciate when you use my links. It helps the channel. If you're mystified by what's going on the screen, I grabbed my old strop that I've been using for about a year, and I am reconditioning it using yet another secret tool in my little arsenal. It's a butcher block conditioner. This is a mineral oil based, mineral oil and waxes based solution, and it's really good about cutting into greases that are absorbed in there and basically dissolving them for easy removal. So that's why I'm using this. And it does not harm leather or wood. That's why I use butcher's block and not some harsh chemical. So here I am going to work it in pretty heavily and let it do its magic. So I'm using this plastic pry bar, basically what it is. And you can see I have these kind of pronounced balding spots. Don't know how that happened. Don't have any theories on it. But I'm hoping to get back to as uniform as possible of the leather surface. And so what I'm going to do here is let it sit for a while. Let's go back to this guy. So you can see that a lot of it got absorbed. Let me, don't want to contaminate there. Yeah, so A lot of this conditioner got absorbed already. And now we can apply the 3000 grit paste to the rough side, and my fine side on this strop will be 5000. You can see how smoothly it goes on because we preconditioned the leather. The absorption is much reduced. There's a couple spots I missed. Anyway, I really like this method and highly recommend you precondition the leather. And now I can apply the 5000 paste onto the smooth side of this strop. The usage is not humongous. I've been using 1500 for a few months now, and you really end up applying it every third to sixth sharpening or so. So you're really not using up so much. The more important thing is to actually recondition the surface when you applying it, because that helps remove any kind of burr that could be embedded, which would then scratch your blade. And now I'm going back to my well-used strop that I'm reconditioning and using this plastic, basically spatula, to remove embedded dirt, all that old sharpening mess from the leather. All right, we got a little reset here. I also wanted to introduce, I have this set of SY tools. That's 10 diamond plates that set you back like $40 for the, and they've been with me for about a year, and no complaints. Anyway, so SY Tools plate 2000. They don't have a ceramic plate in their set, but I think it's close enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weaken that burr. And what I'm doing here, we know that Spyderco goes with like 15 degrees plus or minus a degree edges. And so I'm going to roughly eyeball it in. And I'm putting my index finger here just to feel where my apex is on the stone, and then just gently pull it like this, just very gently. The pressure that you're applying is equivalent to maybe writing with a felt pen and not the ball pen. So you can do it. You're not going to match factory angle 100%, which is no big deal. This is factory edge. It's got to be. It's meant to be removed eventually anyway. Factory edges, they go fast, even the best, like Spyderco. So with almost no pressure, and you can see I'm not going into the stone, I'm pulling it off the stone, if you know what I mean. So let's see what it looks like. Did I knock off some of that burr? I sure did. So you can see what I'm talking about here. See how I'm actually into the edge? And on this side, I feel like I might have matched the angle precisely. And what you see as these darker spots here are basically smoother spots. Okay. Oh, is that a burr? Yeah. Here's a little burr. And that's what the stropping will do. It'll remove that hanging chad. So remember, these are pretty well curved blades. So when you strop, make sure you're not going, when you go straight down, you're missing parts of the blade. You need to sort of make sure that you're working into the curvature. And like I said, do not count your passes. Eventually, you will be able to feel what the blade is doing. Flipping over on the 3000 side, and you here it's where you use maybe ball pen pressure. Same amount of pressure as writing with a ball pen, with a new good ball pen on a piece of printer paper. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, give it a little clean. Did I mention I use lighter fluid when I work on stropping, because it cuts into oils, does a good job cleaning. And so as you can see, the apex is crisp. I did not remove striations that were originally there, which is good. You want, at least on a working knife, you want the striations on the edge. While stropping is the term we use for this procedure, I feel it's more of a edge burnishment or breaking in when it's a new knife like this. So now it's almost ready for use. And just a couple final touches and the sharpness test are coming up. Grab my finer one, and here I'm going to go again on 3. So I just do a couple of passes, probably unnecessary, just to get a feel for it on this strop. And from there, go to the 5000 and show you the final result. And no, this is not slow motion. It's just a very smooth, slow, deliberate process. You don't need to be super energized to do stropping. The edge on this is, by the way, Spyderco Sage 5 in MagnaCut. And I am working on a video where I measure hardness on several of their MagnaCut blades to let you know how well, or not well, they do it. Don't want to spoil any surprises one way or the other. It's in the works. Okay, let's take a look. What appears dark to you on the screen right now is actually more of a shiny, kind of mirror-y, smoothed out metal. Just the result of honing the edge with a 2000 grit diamond stone. I predict this blade will be a slicer. We will find out coming up now. All right, this is my 4-pound. It's the thinnest fishing line I could find at Walmart. I don't have hair on my head that I can cut, so I use fishing line to show you the sharpness of this blade. And it caught already, and here I am whittling the 7/1000th of an inch thick fishing line. Let's see. There you go. Almost 2 passes.